Shot in front of a live audience at Margarita Republic, it's Shots from the Bench. And now your hosts, Bob Wiltman and Bob Murphy.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Shots from the Bench. It's just sports talk, and all opinions are, of course, both fabulous and flawed. I'm Bob Wiltman. He's Bob Murphy, and Greg Melanzuk is behind the scenes, working the camera and keeping sanity. We're here at the Margarita Republic in the Spanish Spring sections of the Villages. Margarita Republic, where food, fun, and fellowship are always seated first. Almost couldn't say that. We're here every Monday from 2 to 3, so come on down or up or over and join us. Check us out. If you can't come today, make room to stop in next week. We play Stump the Panel, throw out some trivia questions to the crowd, and we are the only sports talk show in the Villages. And partner, the first quarter is kicked off, and we'll start talking about the NFL, but let's talk about one particular play that I thought was pretty cheap, and I'll let you elaborate.
You must be talking about the Vikings-Rams game.
I'm talking about the hit
Teddy
on Bridgewater. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There are rules in football to protect certain players, quarterbacks included, receivers, punters. One of the rules is that a quarterback is taking off and running, and then he goes into a slide. Mm-hmm. He's sliding forward. That he's taking himself out of the play.
He's giving himself up.
Himself up.
That's right.
Well, there was a play yesterday in the fourth quarter, the Vikings and the Rams game, tough game, where Lamarcus Jordan, thank you, the cornerback for the Rams, laid into Teddy Bridgewater and knocked him out, concussion.
And that was after he had given himself up.
Yeah, he'd given himself up, and I watched the replay several times. And even if he was coming at him, as he was leaned way back, and he still was going right for his head. He's going right for the head. He was penalized for that. And who knows, but Teddy was laying there unconscious on the ground, Teddy Bridgewater. So it's been a hot button issue this weekend since that happened. And what do you think? Do you think anything anymore? I think he just got flagged for.
To me, that's not enough. Conduct. I mean, if you're going to flag somebody for hitting a defenseless quarterback who's in a slide, I think there should be some kind of suspension in the way of 1 or 2 games. I think the league should enforce the rule because, I'll admit right now that you got good running quarterbacks like Bridgewater that are going to try to stay on their feet as long as they can. But once they slide, you can't touch them. And
you don't go into your slide.
Especially you can't go lead with your elbow on the guy's head.
You don't go into your slide right when the guy is tackling you. You do it a few feet. They're trained to do this several yards in front of the guys so they won't nail you at the last second. And if you see the play over and over again, he had done that a few yards before Jordan came and hit him. And earlier in the game, one of their defensive tackles tried to hit him low, below the knee. Matter of fact, NFL.com's Rodney Harrison, former Steeler, said that he believes, I'm not saying it, but he believes that Jeff Fisher's teams have a history of this, of playing like this, and happened to him in 2006, which made him be aware of it since then, and has seen a lot of instances where he believed that happened.
Well, like I said, I can't speak for or against that because I know some guys harbor some grudges, and you never know how they're going to explode. I'm just saying to get to the bottom of it. If Bridgewater has to lose any times, and here the Vikings are, and they're tied for first place halfway through the season, you hate to see a quarterback. If they get hurt during a play like Roethlisberger's been hurt, that's part of the game. But when a guy's sliding and giving himself up and he gets a head injury, something's got to be done. You can't do that. If the Vikings if they don't make the playoffs, or if this keeps them from winning, it
reminds me.
I feel bad. I just feel.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Vikings several years ago when they were in the NFC Championship game against the Saints. The Saints did the same thing. They went after Brett Favre. They took him out low, several times. They tried to do it several times until they finally succeeded. And that's when they got into trouble after the season. And it cost the coach, Peyton, the whole next season as coach.
I remember that, sure.
And that whole thing, that's what, all those bad memories I had of that season, like 4 or 5 years ago, whatever year it was, reminded me of that. But,
well, that's, like I said, I'm glad you brought that up only as a sense, and I like it, you
Sure.
can't be the dead horse on it, but the fact of the matter is, you slide, you give yourself up, lay off. If somebody touches the quarterback, especially, you shouldn't get a concussion when you're sliding to give yourself up. Then
that's right.
So the league's got to step in.
That'd be like taking a fair catch. You know, you're giving a fair catch and the guy takes you out.
You can't do it. There's got to be some kind of.
I mean, you can understand a little bit of
repercussions.
The hit. You're heading that way and you might accidentally hit him or something.
I can't.
But if you see the play, he was going for the head.
Once the guy slid, that's it. But let's talk about it. Now there are 3. You got Cincinnati. Hats off to them. I mean,
absolutely.
Good grief. They're the only. Besides New England, the only other AFC team that's undefeated, and they're looking good next week. They got Houston. I think that they have a very nice step of being 9-0, and God bless the Patriots, because I keep waiting for them to stumble, and boy, they get focused and they want it every week. Now they got the Giants next week. It's going to be a heck of a game, I think, because the Giants are playing some pretty good football. So we'll see, and I think the Giants are hosting them. So we'll see where that goes, but I give it to them. I give it up big.
I don't
for them.
give much faith to the Giants. I mean, I get excited when I see them do better. I like to see them do good. You know, what are they? I think they're 5-4 on top of their division.
5-4, and they're leading the division.
And you know, right on their heels now is the Eagles trying to playing a little better. So they're 4-4 as of last night.
Well, the thing is that
East is up for grabs, though, for sure.
But and I really tip my hat, because I've been down on them all year, even when they've winning. It's Carolina.
Oh.
Now they are just playing some great football.
Amazing.
And I thought they were doing it with mirrors 3 or 4 weeks ago, but these last 4 weeks have opened my eyes. I mean,
well, the Packers sliding the way they have the last 2 weeks. Now, you know, last week and then this week to Carolina has really propelled Carolina with that defense. And then the athleticism of Cam Newton, and their receivers and running back. I mean, they look like the best team in the NFC.
And you know what? And I was watching Green Bay, and isn't it amazing how? And I think Brett. Don't get me wrong. I think Aaron Rodgers is a spectacular quarterback. I mean, he's as good as anybody.
Sure.
But they aren't just quite as good when they're getting rushed.
Well,
and
their offensive line has given up. Like, I think that going into the game last week was like 12 sacks in the last couple of weeks.
That's right.
And now they got even more yesterday. So
that's fallen apart for them. But but the Packers, I'm very sure will be there at the end of the year, doing very well. But here's an interesting thing that I noticed. How many teams do you think have winning records in the National Football League?
How many teams do I think have
winning records?
Winning records.
10's exactly right. One of our bar guys are right on top of it.
I was just going to say 10.
10. Isn't that amazing? You got all the teams that are leading the divisions, and there's 4 wild card teams right now that are clearly the wild card leaders because they got a winning record. So that's either parity or bad football. I don't know what you want to call it, but the fact of the matter is that it speaks to the balance of the league one way or the other. So
you know, the rise of the Vikings to 6-2, tied. I mean, just in the last couple of weeks, things have been changing. They keep moving up. People keep moving down.
Well, they moved down. They're
Cardinals.
They're
6-2.
tied for the first now. They got Green Bay. They captured Green Bay, so they're doing fine.
You got Cardinals, Packers, and Vikings at 6-2. Panthers 8-0, and then Falcons bringing up the rear 6-3 of the top 5.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the Falcons are still a factor, but they sure haven't been playing great football the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, last couple
they
of weeks.
Need to get it turned around. I'll tell you what, just looking also at some of the big games coming up, we got Thursday night. I think this is a game that really I want to see, and that's the Bills and the Jets.
Yes.
Normally I wouldn't get all that excited about it, but I think the Bills are really starting to put a foundation of a good football team. And
you don't think the Jets are wanting to beat them for any other reason, huh?
Well, I think Ryan might have a little something.
Maybe?
May have a little something to do with it, but won't that be a great game? Because that's going to matter big time in that in that division. So you got that game coming up.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game for sure.
Also, we got and we talked about Minnesota playing Oakland, and I'll tell you, Oakland look this quarterback for Oakland is impressing the heck out of me every time.
Is just lighting it up.
Amazing
with Amari Cooper and everything else, and I don't know if they can keep doing it, but they've been doing it. And so this will be a good test for them against Minnesota's defense.
They're home, and they're a legitimate contender, but I'll tell you what, Minnesota's got a heck of a lot to play for, and we'll see what happens with if Bridgewater can play. I hope he can. Yeah. But if he can't, they look like that. They'll find a way. They'll find a way to make it work. And another game, like I mentioned, is New England playing the Giants. That's going to be, that's two first-place teams playing each other. The Giants, you lose one game, they're 5-5, and then all of a sudden you got a four-way tie for first in that division. The way they're all, the Eagles, they're all 4-4, 3-5, except for the Cowboys. But they also, the big game I think coming up, and the game that I would really, really pay to see is Arizona and Seattle. Seattle has finally turned their season around, and Arizona's got a lot to prove. I mean, Arizona is a very, very, very good football team, and that will be, to me, maybe the game you really want to watch. So, your thoughts on that? Yeah, anything there that floats your boat? I mean, is that pretty much what you were thinking?
Well, absolutely. Good defense against good offense. I mean, and Arizona's defense is pretty good too.
Always fun to watch.
So that's a good. They're two balanced teams going at it.
Now, did you hear? I heard that maybe Palmer got. Did Palmer get dinged?
Carson Palmer?
Yeah. Do you have to leave that game a little bit? I can't remember.
I don't think he's out though.
Oh, okay. If he's not out,
he may have just come out.
Yeah, I like I said, I was trying
to. What do you think of Andrew Luck's performance yesterday with Peyton Manning? I mean, that was a nice bounce back.
Andrew Luck has all the talent and skills. Again, he's. I'd like to see him.
Yeah.
Be totally consistent. I think he throws, 18 great passes a game and 7 bad ones.
Well, that's a good example of how Denver's defense has been keeping them in games for the most part.
Yeah.
In this particular game, it didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, you had Andrew Luck going off a little bit on them, moving the ball, scoring touchdowns, whatever, and that made the liability of Peyton Manning look even greater.
Well, that's right.
He threw 2 picks in that game. Anytime you have turnovers like that, and then you add the offense on the other team moving the ball and scoring points, which doesn't usually happen to Denver.
Well,
and that's a recipe for disaster.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Or success, depending on who you're looking at.
I'll tell you what. That's going to wrap up the first quarter of Shots from the Bench. We'll be back right after this.